Almost everything you think you know about Frankenstein is wrong. There's no lightning bolt in the book, no bolts in the neck, no hunchbacked assistant shouting, "It's alive!" And Frankenstein isn't even the monster's name. It's the man who made him. The creature has no name at all, and that, it turns out, is the whole tragedy. Stay with me for the next 10 minutes and you'll know the real story, the astonishing teenager who wrote it, and why a 200-year-old novel reads like it was written about this exact moment. I'm Sarah, and this is Books and Authors Explained. Today, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. And hold on to this before we begin. The woman who dreamed up this story was a teenager, and she wrote it during a summer when the sun never really came out. A genuinely apocalyptic year that history remembers by a strange name. We'll come back to why that matters more than any lightning bolt. The book actually opens far from any laboratory, in the frozen Arctic. An explorer named Walton, pushing his ship toward the North Pole, hungry for glory, willing to risk his crew for it. Out on the ice, he rescues a half-dead stranger. That stranger is Victor Frankenstein, and what he tells Walton is a warning. I, too, once chased a dangerous dream. Let me tell you what it cost me. Victor grows up in Geneva, gifted and adored, in a warm family with an adopted cousin named Elizabeth he's expected to marry. But he's consumed by one forbidden question. Could a person create life? Not father a child, manufacture a living being from dead matter, and become, in his own words, a new kind of god. He shuts himself away for 2 years. He robs graves and haunts dissecting rooms, collecting parts, chasing the secret with a hunger that eats his health, his family, everything. And then, one dreary night in November, surrounded by his instruments, he does it. He gives the spark of life to the thing he has built. And the instant it opens its watery yellow eyes, Victor is overcome. Not with triumph, but with horror. Up close, the creature he labored over for 2 years is hideous to him. So he does the thing that dooms them both. He runs. He abandons his creation. Newborn and alone and bewildered, the very moment it draws its first breath. Here's the part the movies always get wrong. The creature is not a shambling brute. He's born with the mind of an infant. Gentle, curious, aching to be loved. He wakes alone in a world that recoils from him, and he has to teach himself everything, starting with how to survive a forest with no one to show him how. He finds a hovel attached to a poor cottage, and through a chink in the wall watches the family inside for months. In secret, he learns to speak by listening to them, and then, extraordinarily, he learns to read. He becomes eloquent, thoughtful. He weeps at their kindness to one another and leaves them firewood at night. This is the monster. A self-taught, tender-hearted soul who wants only to belong. At last he gathers the courage to reveal himself. First to the family's blind old grandfather, the one person who cannot judge his face, and who listens to him with warmth. And for a moment there is hope. Then the rest of the family walk in, see the giant looming over the old man, scream, and beat him out into the snow. Everywhere he turns, the reaction is the same, for one reason only. He is ugly. That's Mary Shelley's devastating twist. The monster isn't born a monster. He's made into one. By rejection, by cruelty, by a world that judges him entirely on his face. Something in him finally breaks. If he cannot have love, he decides he will have revenge. And he knows exactly who to blame, the man who made him, then threw him away. On the way to find Victor, the creature encounters Victor's little brother, William. He hopes a child might be too young to hate him. He's wrong. The boy shrieks and calls him a monster, and in his grief and rage, the creature kills him. It's the first death, and it's almost an accident of despair. Then a servant girl named Justine is wrongly hanged for the murder, and Victor stays silent, knowing the truth, letting an innocent die to protect his secret. High on a glacier, the two finally meet face to face, and the creature makes his case. He tells Victor his whole story, and then makes one demand: build me a companion, a mate as wretched as I am, so I need not be alone in the entire world. Do this, he promises, and we will both vanish into the wilderness and never trouble humankind again. Victor agrees, and travels to a remote island to build her. But halfway through, he panics. What if the two of them breed and unleash a race of creatures on the world? So, in a fit of terror, he tears the half-finished bride to pieces, right in front of his creature's watching eyes. It is the second unforgivable abandonment, and the creature makes him a promise. I will be with you on your wedding night. What follows is a pure tragedy, and it cuts both ways. The creature takes everything from Victor to make him feel the loneliness he was condemned to. First, his best friend. Then, on Victor's wedding night, his bride, Elizabeth. The two of them are now locked together, creator and creation, each the other's tormentor, neither able to rest while the other lives. So Victor devotes what's left of his life to a single purpose: hunt the creature down and destroy it. The chase leads north, and further north, until the two of them are racing across the Arctic ice at the top of the world, which is exactly where the book began and where the dying man was pulled onto Walton's ship to tell his tale. Victor's body finally gives out on the ship, still begging Walton to finish his revenge. And here's the ending almost nobody remembers. That night the creature climbs aboard and finds his maker's corpse. And he weeps over it. He doesn't gloat, he grieves. He tells Walton he was never truly evil, only wretched, only alone, and that every murder disgusted him even as he committed it. With Victor dead, the creature says, he has nothing left to live for. His maker was the only being on earth bound to him, and now that bond is gone. He steps off the ship and walks away across the ice to build his own funeral pyre and end himself, vanishing into the polar dark. The monster gets the last heartbroken word, and you're left unsure who the real monster ever was. So who writes something this profound? Here's the fact that stops people cold. Mary Shelley began Frankenstein when she was 18 years old. 18. And she didn't come from nowhere. She was intellectual royalty. Her mother was Mary Wollstonecraft, who wrote the founding text of feminism and died days after giving birth to her. Her father was the radical philosopher William Godwin. As a girl, Mary would read beside her own mother's grave. At 16, she ran away with the married poet Percy Shelley, some scandal that got her cast out. And by the time she wrote Frankenstein, she had already lost a baby daughter. She once recorded a dream in her journal that her dead child came back to life if she warmed it by the fire. Read the novel again, knowing that. A story about reanimating the dead and the anguish of a creator who cannot love what they've made. None of this was abstract to her. Now the summer. In 1815, a volcano called Tambora had erupted on the far side of the planet, hurling so much ash into the sky that the sun dimmed worldwide. Europe froze in June. Crops failed, food ran out. History calls 1816 the year without a summer. Trapped indoors by the endless rain at a villa on Lake Geneva, Mary, Percy, and the poet Lord Byron held a competition. Who could write the most frightening ghost story? Byron's young doctor started a tale that became the modern vampire, the ancestor of Dracula. And 18-year-old Mary, after a waking nightmare of a pale student kneeling beside the thing he had assembled, won it. She essentially invented science fiction on a dare during a climate catastrophe. So why should you read it now? Because Frankenstein was never really a horror story about a monster. It's the first and still the sharpest story about creators and their responsibility for what they create. Victor's sin was never building the creature. It was walking away from it, making something powerful and new, then refusing to answer for how it turned out. 200 years later, that's the defining anxiety of our age. We build minds we don't fully understand and release them into the world. We chase what's possible without pausing to ask what we owe it. The question Mary Shelley asked at 18 is the exact question we're still asking. Just because we can create something, does that mean we should? And who takes responsibility for it once we do? And read it because it's kinder and sadder than its reputation. Strip away the movie cliches and what's left is a book of enormous compassion. For the outcast, for the lonely, for the thing that never asked to be born. It dares you to feel for the monster. That's the challenge Mary Shelley set at 18, and it still lands. The creature you were taught to fear is the one whose heart breaks. You won't forget him once you've actually met him. I'm Sarah, and this is Books and Authors Explained. The affiliate link to the book is in the description.